about 8 o'clock now, and I'm in a field just outside the third of today's thankful villages. In fact, the third of the tour, my tour from Bath to York, stopping at 16 thankful villages and leaving a knitted poppy at each. Hello, good morning on Monday morning from my tent in this field in the village of Upper Slaughter. This is the scene this morning, very misty. I went to bed about 10 o'clock last night. There was nothing else to do really apart from just lie in my bed and think back over the day. It's quite misty. Here's sheep buying all around me. There were some fields just behind me with some livestock in, so I obviously kept well away from that. Yesterday I did 66 miles, which is at the upper end of my anticipated mileage. I don't really want to do much more than that each day, otherwise I'm just going to build too much surplus in, then I'll be ending up in York, you know, several days early. So I want to cover distance but not too much distance, and I've just had a look at the section 2 of the route sheet, and my next thankful village will be at 42 miles into this 88 mile section, and then it's 78 miles. Well, I'm not going to get that far today. I don't want to either. So there's going to be one thankful village today, Wood End, and then I'll think about camping later this evening. The forecast says a sunny evening, so hopefully a chance to dry things out. Everything's sort of cluttered in the tent, so I'm going to have to pack it up inside, which, you know, takes more time. Feels like winter camping, even though it's middle of June, just at the end of a heat wave. And then hopefully tonight be able to spread things out a little bit and maybe, you know, just have a bit more time outside this evening. Anyway, I'm just going to put some hot water on for some coffee, and it won't be that long before I start sort of getting everything packed up and hopefully be on the road by about 6:30, 7 o'clock. Even last night I managed to cook my meal just outside in the drizzly rain, and it even stopped as I dished up, and then as I ate, and then as the evening wore on it got heavier and heavier, and it's just really nice being in the tent. I've said it so many times before, and I know other campers say this as well. It's nice being in a tent in the rain, you know, knowing you're protected, hearing it pitter patter or thud quite loudly in that case last night on the fly sheet. The grass here is, well, 20 inches, about waist height in places. You know, on average it's about 6-7 inches high, so obviously my feet are quite wet. I'm in sandals. I'm just going to stay in sandals until I get the bike packed up, and then I'll walk across to the gate and put my shoes on there, so at least I start off in dry socks and dry cycling shoes. Bit about my cooking on this trip. I've really got back into Trangia mess cooking the last few years, and it's ideal for trips like this. I started off with the big Trangia. They look like landmines, you know, they're all-in-one units, but I've just got a Trangia burner on a little stove. It's just a support which keeps it off the ground, and then a heat shield around it. I did buy recently the 1 litre Trangia fuel bottle, so let me explain why I did that. Last June on my Pillboxes Trail cycle tour in East Anglia, I took the mess burner then, and that was the first time I'd really used this setup. And I took a half a litre Trangia fuel bottle full of meths, and I started the camping on the Tuesday, wasn't it? Monday was in the Travelodge, Tuesday was the camping, and by Friday evening I was getting a bit short of meths, and on Friday during the day I went into Wales Next to Sea and bought just a small bottle of meths and able to top the bottle up. So what's that, Tuesday? It was 4 nights, and so this is 7 nights. So I just thought, oh, I can probably just take the half litre fuel bottle again and top it up as I did last year. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I think I just really don't know if I want that hassle. Not always in the right place at the right time, am I? So I went ahead and bought the 1 litre fuel bottle. It doesn't quite fit in my rear pocket. The top's just sticking out, but I can live with that. Got the German Army ground sheet laid out, half laid out anyway, on the wet grass, just to start getting my packing ready. You can probably hear the pump sucking all the air out my sleep mat. That is such a good bit of kit, it really is. So not only it inflates it, it almost shrink wraps it and makes it so much easier for packing up, rolling up the next morning. And it also doubles up as a tent lantern. It's just a complete no-brainer. That power pack, 15,000 milliamp hours, I mean, that doesn't mean anything to me, but it charges all my sort of low power devices like Garmin's lights, everything, the sleep map pump. The tent I'm using on this trip is the Vango Banshee 200. I think they've discontinued them now. I picked it up for about £210 in a millet sale a few years ago. There's a lot of things I like about it, a couple of negative points, possibly me just being a bit of a Luddite to be honest, but the main selling point for me was a side entrance, in fact two. So I mean, on an ideal pitch, you can have the sunset that side and the sunrise the other side the next morning. And also, where the headroom is, if you spend a lot of time in there, like I did last night, you know, the headroom's exactly where you want it. It was a comfortable tent to be in. Not much of a vestibule either side, but to be honest, that doesn't really bother me that much. All I keep out there really is the water bottles and my fuel bottle, which I wouldn't want in the tent anyway. Another big selling point is the fly sheet and the inner are strapped together, so you erect it and drop it together. There's no fiddling inside trying to connect one to the other. And also another thing, you can see where the vestibule, the porch, would normally be on a traditional tunnel tent. Instead of that being dead space, I didn't realise this until I bought the tent. Let me show you. They've utilised that. You've almost got like a boot room. There's my shoes out there. Anything you don't want, like muddy shoes in here last night. And also more ventilation. It's got all the pockets, as you would imagine. The straps is where I hang my lantern. So that's the selling points. Again, I just don't like complexity, especially if my metabolism's a bit low at the end of the day, and I don't want to sort of waste it sort of thinking complex things out. I prefer tunnel tents, that's just me traditionally. And you have got a bit of a tunnel, but it's also got these fancy clips. And also, where you anchor the pole, there's another possible anchor point right next to it. I didn't realise till afterwards, you can actually use the door as a porch roof, almost like a gazebo. And no matter how many times I put this up, I quite often get that choice wrong. They're so close to each other that you could colour code it really, as the poles are, because you feel you're going to snap the poles if you get it wrong. So that's a little bit of complexity. Same with all these guy ropes. You know, they're just overly complex and get in the way, especially when you're tired. I just prefer the old eyelets which you slid up and down, but again, that's probably just me. But all in all, it's a great tent. I couldn't tell you all the specs. I don't know them. I don't really care that much. The tents for me are subjective. You either like it, you don't. It keeps the rain out. It folds up really small. Oh, another big selling point is you've got an option of either rolling that up with the poles and the pegs traditionally, you know, like a Swiss roll, which is what I'm doing on this trip. But if I take my chair, for instance, you know, with a canvas bag, lots of excess room in there, I just put the poles and the pegs in that, and you've got the option of just dropping it, stuffing it straight in the bag, and it's got compression straps, so you can compress it even tighter and smaller. It packs up that way to not much bigger than an SLR camera. So yeah, I really like it. Ticks a lot of boxes, couple of negatives, but you know, nothing's perfect, is it? 8 o'clock, nearly ready to hit the road. This is the country lane I was on last night. So Upper Slaughters, about a mile back that way. This is my field. So over on that patch of grass there. Leave no trace. I love the countryside. Why would I want to litter it and ruin it for other people? Gate was even unlocked. It just looked ideal last night, and timing wise, well, just perfect. So I'm still in sandals. My feet are a little bit wet from that long grass. They're drying out now. So principle I try to do is try and keep my head, hands and feet as dry as possible. So I'm just going to put my shoes and socks on here, start the day off with dry feet. I bought 2 bottles of 2 litre water at Northleach, and so I've got probably about half a bottle left, about a litre of water left. All my water bottles on the bike are full up, so I'm just drinking as much of that as possible before I water the hedges. Then I'll crush that, put it in the rubbish bag, strap that, bungee that to the back of the bike, and I'll probably do the same with these. These are going to dry ever so quickly. So day 2 about to start. That way there. Not even 9 AM yet, and the moment I left my camp spot, the sun came out. You see, it's a blue sky already. How's that for timing? This is Stow-on-Wold, very twee, very touristy, and this was always my plan B for last night. I knew there'd be shops here, so I thought I could stock up on food, but I'm so glad I picked up supplies at Northleach, because that camp last night was fantastic, timing wise especially. I thought I'd pop in here this morning, and you know, I knew there's going to be plenty of tea rooms here, maybe get some beans on toast, but as I was riding up a steep hill, I just suddenly had a craving for hummus sandwiches and raspberries. And I've said it before, I always go with my cravings, so I had some bread left from last night, margarine, hummus, so I'm going to make some sandwiches. Bit of a weird breakfast, but hey, there you go. Mid-morning now, and I'm just eating up the miles, enjoying the scenery. The weather's quite nice, blue sky, dry. Just come down this road here to this crossroads. I'm going to turn right here, but this is a perfect example of why I like going just a little bit further afield in this country. You can see we're in Warwickshire, and every place name on that signpost is unfamiliar to me, and I really like that. This feels like Dartmoor from a few weeks back. Very enjoyable, but very hard. Whew. Up and down relentlessly. The going is definitely much harder today. As I referred to going through that ford, it really is very rolling and woody. Very pleasant. Progress appears quite slow, and it's also really warming up as well. I'm just in one of these lovely Cotswold stone villages. Don't even know what this one's called, to be honest, because when you come in on the lane you just don't see the boundary sign, but there's a prep school up there, so it gives you an idea of the wealth that's sort of concentrated around this area. Saw this post office and just thought I'd dive in there for some energy, some instant gratification, so got myself a sparkling drink. I'm gonna top my front water bottle up with that fizzy drink. Fancied an ice cream, fruit pastel lolly. I've never had one of those, so we'll see what that's like. Just as I got to the top of another killer hill, I would turn right onto a bridleway signposted Sustrans Route 5. That ice cream, by the way, was a bit of a shock to the palate. Very tangy and bitter. I'd probably have it again, but it was probably just what I needed actually. If you like sweet ice creams, probably don't go for it. But you know what it's like on a bike, sometimes you just, by day 2, you've had enough of sweet. You want savoury and bitter a bit more. So yeah, it kind of hit the spot. Blummy, coming onto tarmac by the look of it. I saw some farm buildings coming up and I thought, oh, where there's buildings, you know, there's going to be a drive. Just coming out on the corner of this very, very minor looking road. Oh, and by the way, I'm on Route 5 Sustrans, so I'm not sure where that goes. I'll have to look that up when I get here home. But it's an officially recognised Sustrans path, which is probably why the GPS has routed me on it. Weren't on tarmac very long. Came across to a T-junction. Well, crossroads for me. It's straight across onto this much more chalky, stony path. Just following the Garmin. It's one of the things I love about cyclotouring these days. You know, the Garmin just does the heavy lifting for you. Sometimes it backfires and you have to retrace. But I just like this, the idea of this route has been chosen for me really by algorithms. In other words, by many years of other people's local experience and knowledge, so I don't have to think too much about it. Main path stopped at a house back there, but I can just spot there's another one over there. And again, where there's houses, you know, how do you think they get their mail or their meters read? There's got to be tarmac there. Oh. Careful. This really is like a farm track. I imagine that's a farm I'm heading for. Another gate as we approach the farm. Just crossed over a stream, you can hear it running alongside me now. Ah, the beginnings of a road. Back on tarmac. That was great, I enjoyed that. Season of poppies. I saw fields and fields of them yesterday, you know, like one of those Monet paintings. Every time I stopped to try and film it, I overshot. I used to work in horticulture actually as well, and I remember my boss saying to me the definition of a weed, because he'd been to ag college, and he said to me, definition of a weed is if something's not in a planned position. I mean, for instance, a rose in a crop field would be classed as a weed. Weaving my way through Banbury, just following this GPS track. I think I must have to go up over that bridge. Looks like I'm going up over and crossing the other side. Just saw a sign saying this is Spice Ball Park. Check I'm really on the GPS track. Yeah. I actually don't find this stressful at all. You know, you really have to concentrate on the garment. That's why I don't waste energy when I don't have to, because I need it for times like this. I have to really concentrate, but it's very satisfying to navigate your way through a complex city centre like this. All these tracks, left and then round to the right. Yeah, this is great. Is everyone going? Yeah, off to the right. Oh wow, basically following the canal then. Oh, this is very nice. Well, it looks like I'm on a canal path. Cyclists and runners, lots of exercise machines here. That grass cap, look at it. Yeah. Don't find this stressful at all, find it very satisfying, but it does require a lot of effort, concentration. Looks like I've been diverted onto a river now. Here, heavy traffic all the way round. Sharp right. It's great. Out past the sewage treatment works. All round by these industrial units, I can hear loud traffic either side of me. Left here. Yep. Whew. Oh. Sharp left. Yeah. Now I'm heading through Primark. Going under a main road by the sound of it. Off to the right. Right. Here we go. Bearing round to the right and then left. I'm going up that slope. Well, that was a whistle stop tour of Banbury, ladies and gentlemen. Emerging through a car park by the look of it. That's where I emerged through that gate, just to the left of that yellow car. Across this main road, you see a big busy trunk road of the motorway. Straight on a country lane. How's that? It's nearly 3 o'clock. Now I'm just having a very late lunch on this churchyard about 5 or 6 miles north of Banbury. It's lovely and warm now. This morning was very, very hard, unlike yesterday, which was quite rolling and easy. This morning was really steeply wooded valleys, and a couple of fords went through as well, so slow progress. But I'm on 38 miles at the moment, which means I'm over 100 miles since I left Bath, and the Travelodge at York on Sunday night is only 385, so that means I'm over a quarter of the way, you know, in less than a quarter of the time, so I'm okay with a sort of like slow progress. Just stopped here for a few reasons. I picked up some food to eat in Banbury, but I've been looking for a country church, which is what I found. I'm charging my power pack and my phone in there. I've got a USB plug. I always leave a few quid, so you know, I feel like I made a donation. And another little hack as well, when it gets hot, I always take my shoes and socks off at every single opportunity. I'm just here recharging my Garmin on the on-the-go power pack, 4 or 5 miles rather from my thankful village of today, the first one and the only one today, Woodend. And according to my notes, I don't think there's a church there. I'm looking for a memorial on the village green, so but because I've had a late lunch, I tend to press on to about sort of 7:30, maybe something like that. I'm round about 40 miles in today, so I need to really look out for this thankful village. And because it hasn't got a church, I'm wondering if it's just a scattering of houses, so I've got to be really careful I don't miss it. So I've been peeling my eyes, and I've just seen the sign for it there at Woodend. It's coming up to 4 PM and I've arrived at Woodend, my thankful village for today. In fact, I think it's a hamlet, to be honest. According to my notes, there's no church here. I'm looking for a memorial, so I'm hoping that's where the plaque will be. And also, this will be my 4th thankful village, so it gives you an idea of progress. When I get here, I'm probably going to get the Ride with GPS app out and just sort of see what stores are likely to be on my route, you know, where I can pick up some supplies. Anyway, onwards into the village, look for the war memorial. According to my notes, it said there was no church here, so I suspected it'd be a very small place. I was a bit concerned I didn't want to ride through it and sort of like miss it. Luckily there was a boundary sign, and also I've been sent down here. I knew I was looking for a memorial. I thought that was the most likely place for the plaque to be, and there it is. And the memorial is actually a Second World War memorial in tribute to a B-17 Flying Fortress accident that crashed in this field, killing everybody on board, October the 11th, 1944. So I've put my poppy there next to the plaque. I asked my wife to make much longer threads this year, actually, after last year struggling a few times. I'm just going to pay my respects here. I'm coming into Northampton at whatever time it is, 5:30, 6 o'clock. So the plan is to just pick up some water here. Can't see there being any campsites in the vicinity, and then getting the heck out of town. A few miles back I stopped at a busy trunk road to cross it at a crossroads, and it was the A5, and you saw signs for Coventry one way, Hinckley, Milton Keynes the other. So it gives you an idea of where I am really. Following a cycle path alongside the main road into Northampton. I've got all the supplies I need really for tonight. I've got some MREs, and I bought a pack of 5 and I bought 3 along with me. I've got 2 main meals. One of them is a jalfrezi curry, which I really like, and the other one is a all-day breakfast. I've also bought a commercial all-day breakfast as well from Millets. So I've got 2 evening meals, 2 breakfasts, and I've got all my portions of rice and pasta. So I've got to start getting rid of some of the weight, to be honest. So it's going to be curry tonight, and I'll boil some rice with that. So really all I need is water. Beer would be nice actually. Last night was so peaceful, despite being literally right next to a road. It was such a quiet road. I don't think I heard a car go by all night. Might have done, I don't know, wasn't aware of it. What I did hear was the sheep in the adjacent field, and that was quite soothing actually. It helped me get off. I was probably in bed by 10 o'clock. I don't know what time I drifted off, and I woke up about 5 AM this morning, just after it got light. So, you know, good old sleep last night. Again, I quite sort of like this. I know it's not scenic like Mid Wales, but I get quite a buzz of sort of finding Midwestern town centres. Just following a straight line from a satellite 23,000 miles up in the air, or should I say several satellites. Well, I ended up at this rather tired looking square just to get some water really for wild camp, and I've got myself a couple of bottles of beer, so the bike's even heavier now. That's the road along there, down there where the main traffic's going. It's been hot and sweaty and busy, but I'm not on the road. I'm actually following a cycle lane right next to it, but yeah, hopefully I'll be out of Northampton soon, find somewhere nice and sunny to camp. This looks like it might be my way out. Oh yeah, National Cycle Network Route 6. Wow, hot and dusty, slight contrast to last night. I like contrast though. This cycle route has been signposted to Market Harborough, weaving under the mainline East Coast Railway by the look of it. Yeah, getting up the other side. So Sustrans Route 5 earlier on, and now I'm on Sustrans Route 6. Well, 58.5 miles, so I'm going to top 60 today. If somebody had told me that this morning when I was making such slow progress, I'd have questioned it. I was hoping just to get to the Thankful Village. But it occurs to me, if I get much above 60, that's 262s, well 66, yeah, I've done it already, 200 kilometres. So from suddenly being very sort of busy and then hitting that deprived area, cross under the railway, and I got the impression I was getting on an old branch line railway. That's what this is, I'm sure. Got housing estates on my right hand side, but I'm just looking for somewhere to camp really. I've got 2 bottles of beer, 2 big bottles of water, got everything I need. Quite often these places have like little picnic areas along here. Just need to get away from this urbanisation really. Just crossed over a little road, which I was sure would have been level crossing, and you're at the Northampton and Lamport Railway, Bourton Station, but this is called the Brampton Valley Way, Bourton Crossing, accessible walkers, cyclists. So I'm pretty sure I'll find somewhere along here. It's about 8:15 in the evening now, and after the Thankful Village I made really good progress. I accumulated some good sort of distance, and I hit Northampton round about rush hour, and I got on this really busy ring road, you know, with commuter traffic, but luckily there was a cycle path right next to it. I glanced down at the Garmin, I thought, gosh, I'm going to achieve over 60 miles today, which sort of surprised me. And if you convert that into kilometres, that's, you know, including yesterday, that's well over 200 kilometres. And the total distance is only just a shade over 600. So I went from a quarter of the way round at the village to about a third of the way round now. So, you know, that was quite pleasing after such a hard start this morning. As I left Northampton, after I picked up some supplies, plenty of water, and got a couple of bottles of beer, I knew I had to get out of town, and I went under this subway underneath the railway station, a bit smelly with some graffiti, and I instantly got on this Sustrans route, and I thought, this is an old branch line railway, I think, you could just tell. And then suddenly it's become this heritage railway, and I just figured once I get out of the suburbs there's going to be a picnic seat somewhere. There always is, isn't there? And lo and behold, that's what I found. I've just put my tent up there. So without dazzling you, I hope, I'll just show you the setup. I've just parked everything. There's loads of bright sun. I've just been drying all the tent and the sleeping bag, the sleeping mat out, put my tent up there. I can't show you, it's over there. There's a lovely field of poppies. I mean, really bright red, like that Monet picture, you know. So that's going to be lovely, I think, as the sun goes down this evening. Just opened my first beer. Going to try and get the tent all prepped. Leave the panniers on tonight, lock it to a sign there, and start cooking my meal. I don't mind if I don't cook my meal actually until it gets dark, and then have a shave and everything once the cycle and the walking and the cycling traffic dies down a little bit. Anyways, turn that into what's going to be a lovely evening camp. Going to light the stove shortly. So the meal I'm going to have is halal chicken jalfrezi with chickpeas and rice. I bought 5 MREs recently. I bought 3 with me. That's one of the favourites I've ever had actually. That's really nice curry. And I've also got sort of like a portion of rice I bought from home to beef it out with. Plus the fact I've got bread and butter if I need extras. Going to just fire up the stove shortly. It's 10 to 9 in the evening in June. You can see how bright it is in front of me. The sun's right behind me. The sun's even still quite warm on my neck. I just love this time of year. Got my little table up. Got some rice boiling. I'm going to boil that up first, and then I'm going to do a chicken jalfrezi and my first beer. I'll wait for the second one until I'm eating my curry. It's gone 9 PM and I'm sat outside eating a meal. So there's my rice. I think I've overdone the single portions. There's my jalfrezi chicken with chickpeas. I'm just going to plough some of that in there and mix it all in. Of all the MREs, that's definitely my favourite one. When I bought the Lucky Dip, I just saw that was guaranteed to be in there, so it's what made me buy it. So that's worked out, it's about £1.25 a meal. It was a lovely evening camping, beautiful sunset. I went to bed, just plugged my phone in quickly to charge into my power pack, knowing as soon as it's fully charged it would switch off. Went to sleep, had a good night's sleep, woke up the next morning a little bit surprised my phone wasn't charged. So I put it back in and suddenly realised the power pack I had, the 15,000 milliamp hours power pack, was fully discharged, and a bit surprised really and concerned, because that left me with only my small on-the-go power pack, which has 2,600 milliamp hours I believe. It's a backup just for using on the road to charge my Garmin's, and the Garmin's were crucial to my navigation. Without those I would be stuck, so I was a little bit concerned. So I was about to pack up and leave, and then there was torrential rain and a heavy thunder and lightning storm, and I had to stay in my tent till 9:30 in the morning before I left, so I was very late leaving. And then when I did pack up and leave, of course everything was soaking wet. My first priority was to find somewhere to charge my Garmin's and also have another go at charging my power pack up. And as I left, the track the previous evening had been very, very dusty and dry. This morning, Tuesday morning, it was very wet and flooded. Not unpleasant, but it just made going very, very slow. And I eventually went through a tunnel on that old railway, just under half a kilometre long, 450 metres I believe. And you really do need lights for that. It's unlit and it's pitch black in the middle. And then soon after that I was diverted off that track onto some lanes. I eventually arrived at a town where I was lucky enough, I found a church. Although it was locked, the porch was open and there was an external plug socket there, and so I started charging my devices there. As I said, priority was boosting the 2 Garmin's up so I could navigate, then boosting and topping up the little on-the-go mini power pack, and then I charged my phone as well as the big power pack, hoping it would at least regain some charge. So I was unable to film that morning section, so the story continues at that church. It's just gone midday on Tuesday. It's been a bit of a challenging morning, to be honest. What's really been playing on my mind now is my phone's hardly got any power, and also I'm charging my power pack here. That's the on-the-go power pack. if that fails, I've got nothing to charge my Garmin's, and then I can't navigate, so it's sort of preying on my mind. And I'm in this sort of fairly big town now, Desborough I think it's called. Ask someone where there's a church. It's actually locked, but look, I've got outside plugs. So if you're going to stay about an hour just to really charge everything up. What a shame, because the bike track included a tunnel, and it was just spectacular, and I wasn't able to record it. All my cameras are dead anyway. About an hour here I think, and then hopefully finishing this section of the ride later this afternoon. There should be 3 thankful villages today.